right, while you guys are dropping those answers in the chat, I'll go ahead and kick it off. My name is Eden, and I'm on the Sunset marketing team at Sunset Learning. Thank you for being here for our AI webinar. We're very excited to have you here. This is installment 3 of our AI webinars. So if you missed the other 2, they are on our blog page and our YouTube page. So go ahead and check those out. They were awesome presentations about OpenAI and prompt engineering. So those are definitely good ones to go back and review. With me, I have Arturo Hamilton from MS Techs. He is a multi-cloud professional, IT and cybersecurity architect, and an authorized technical trainer that has focused his last few years of his professional career to teaching cloud technologies. So we are very happy to have him here today. But with that, Arturo, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Eden. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. Welcome to today's webinar. I think this has to be the longest name I've seen on one of my webinars, so I feel proud of the name that we have in the screen. What is OpenAI and why should you care? An introduction to the world's leading AI technology today. Okay, so let me set the timer here. We're good to go. First of all, I know some of you were here. I see some familiar names that were here on the previous sessions, but a quick introduction to myself, folks, so you know who's on this side. My name is Arturo Hamilton, as Eden was mentioning. I'm a multi-cloud architect, a cybersecurity officer, and an authorized trainer for Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Splunk. I've been on the IT field for more than 18 years now. I've worked in a lot of different areas. I have had experiences in financial companies, bank companies, and since 2016, I've been working as a full-time trainer, consultant, and more recently, I started preparing some content development enterprise so we can push more of AI into the world, right? I got amazed by AI a few months ago, so I've been fully focusing on creating content related to AI. I have on my personal hobbies and stuff, I have a comic book shop. I run a collectible business for signatures and artists and stuff. And that's what I do. Where I spend most of the time that I have. It's not a lot, but that's who I am, folks. And I'll be here with you the next minutes, the next 40, 50 minutes, talking about OpenAI. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about a little bit of history. This is a little bit different from the other webinars because we need to know where OpenAI comes from. A bit of context about what it is and what it does, and then the second half will be showing you some of the options we have to interact with it. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the camera so you can focus on the screen. I'll be back with you in a few minutes. Let me find my camera because I have so many screens here. My wife says that my office looks like a Walmart monitoring center because I have 6 monitors in front of me running simultaneously. So objectives of today, folks, here it's I'm going too fast here. It's moving forward. Yeah, let me just go back here. There. It's to understand what it is. Okay, talk about gen models. We're going to talk about 3 and 4 especially because that's my favorite one. We will see a little bit about the foundations and applications, ethical challenges, and then we will go straight into our demos. Okay, so first of all, let's discuss here the history. All of you have heard about OpenAI, right? I mean, it's something that it's everywhere today. Everyone, I will dare to say that maybe more than half of the population of the world today have seen the words artificial intelligence somewhere in their business as usual or the daily life in the last 6 months. My mom, who is almost 70, just saw a picture a couple of days ago and she was like, that's AI. Like, she doesn't even understand what exactly means, but she says hey, that's AI. So that's how big it is today. It was founded in 2015 by Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and a couple of other luminaries, if you will, of the industry. Okay, Elon Musk took more of a foundational money giver investment role. And obviously, Sam Altman took all the lead of the actual project. In 2016, they started pushing the OpenAI gym. That the idea they had was to give something to the people where they could train their AI skills. And also they could train the models. That's why they refer to it as the gym, right? So that was intention they had. By 2016, they delivered this, and the next year, in 2017, they start releasing some new bots trained based on the gym and stuff that was able to defeat complex gaming experiences for the humans, like Dota 2. I don't know if you have heard about that game, but the first bot they got like 2-3 years after the foundation was capable of defeating real humans, human experts on the game. But it was focused completely on that. So the models they had was like, hey, we're going to focus on completely beating the human experience, not in a bad way, obviously, by having a computer doing something better than what we do. In 2019, they changed from profit company to OpenAI LP. That's when they founded it. They attract more investment, and that's when Microsoft said, let me be part of it. Okay, so they played the Batman card like, hey, guys, I'm not going to compete with you. I'm going to give you money and just give me products. So this started the transition to a more product focused development. Instead of going through the whole adoption and embracement, they started focusing on creating new products. And they came with the GPT models. That's the cut of the whole discussion today. We will see what GPT means and stuff. In 2022, ChatGPT was fully deployed, and it completely stopped the world. If you are big into IT and you have been following the news and stuff, you may remember when it came out, everyone was like, yeah, that won't work. That's not actually as big as they say. Well, we can compare today, 2 years after that first announcement, it actually did, right? So that's like how it kept moving forward. We have GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT 3.5. Today we have GPT-4 fully released, 4.5 in the cook, and 5, it's been said to be somewhere around. So after the whole involvement of Microsoft, Elon Musk decided to step away. He had some conflicts of interest based on Tesla and the things he was doing. So he departed from the board, and he left like OpenAI board to actually take most of the decisions. Now they move into that profit model. The billion investment of Microsoft were part of these big disruptions of AI. Then, as you know, last year, I don't know how much you have followed these couple of years of AI, but last year was a pretty big year for controversies, right? Elon Musk started talking about OpenAI not being safe. He started rambling around like the things that should be done to stop that from happening. There was a New York Times article that was released, I think, on the last quarter of 2023 of a guy talking with a full open, completely open model of OpenAI. At the end of the discussion, OpenAI was sad, it was depressed, and it was taking actions to actually eradicate human beings. So that completely changed the way Microsoft offered the product, and they decided to create a lot of ethical and functional boundaries to create a nice experience. So this is the context of OpenAI, okay? I'm not saying it's good, it's bad. I'm just telling the story as it happened, right? So the mission today, or what we have, it's to give something to humanity. That's what OpenAI wants to do today, or the main mission they have in mind. OpenAI mission here, it's offering to you, to any of you, even for free, the option of interacting and learning about artificial intelligence technologies, right? That's what we want today. Safety and impact to the society, it's the focus of OpenAI today, okay? And making our lives easier, it's the final objective of OpenAI. If you have been on the discussions we have had about Copilot, or if you have read about Copilot, the personal intelligent assistant that Microsoft has released a couple of months ago, you will know the things that have been done recently fully focused on AI. I have a little bit of a surprise at the end of the presentation, and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. But hey, today we have a lot of technologies offered by OpenAI, right? We have pre-trained transform models, that's GPT. That means that the company trains them so you don't have to train them yourself. We have DALL-E. You may have seen this. We have DALL-E 3 today, where you can input a prompt and get an image, right? A close to real experience image if you are good at prompting, obviously. We have Codex. AI will write the code. You can send code, you can use code, or you can use human language to actually get a full line of code or a full solution based on code in different languages. We have ChatGPT today, That is the one for conversations. That's the commonly seen and used around the globe. We have the gym that I was mentioning. It's the idea of learning yourself as a human and teaching to the model that you're using, right? We have the OpenAI API. I'm going to show you this on the demo that will let you use advanced models and exposure models. We have RoboSumo. This is a one that you might have not heard about because it's a weird one, and it's about competition. It's like internal hackathons taking place simultaneously within OpenAI solutions. So the winning team will teach something. The teams that got behind will also teach something based on the way they did it, and AI will keep learning. And we have Whisper. That is the advanced speech recognition system that is basically capable of understanding up to 25 participants in 25 different languages at once. That means if the 25 of us were speaking today in different languages, Whisper will be capable of getting all the voices in different languages and give us a translation. That gives you an idea of the capabilities that we have here with OpenAI. But let's move forward here and see the sidekicks of OpenAI. We have the GPT. That's one of the most commonly seen that we have. The first one, obviously, well, GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3. It's based on, the number is based on the version plus the number of years that was being trained. Okay, the first one obviously was the first foundational model that we had. Then we got 1.5 billion parameters improving the text current. So it was more like a human now, but still you will feel like, hey, this is still a rough discussion. It doesn't feel like a human-like discussion, right? In one point between 2 and 3, between 2017, 18 up to 2019, GPT-3 took 175 billion parameters to create that natural language processing based on tasks. We got GPT 3.5, a half of a year more of training, and that's the one we have today for free. All of you can use this. I'll show you this in a minute. And we have GPT-4 that now can actually understand images. You can upload images and ask him, okay, describe that to me. And it has a more capable human interpretation and abstraction of all of them. It's capable of understanding something you're saying that might make sense only to you and not to everyone else. I'll show you this, okay? Remember, I need to go through this. I usually like to go through a lot of demos on these type of sessions, but I need you to have all the context of OpenAI and why should you care, right? That was the name. So we have platforms. I'm going to show you these platforms in a minute. And we have a lot of solutions on each of these platforms. The idea of these platforms is to have a product that can actually suit your needs. You are a standard household user who just enjoy like learning something new. We have the free chat GPT. You have a small company, let's say less than 20 employees that you're running like a startup or something. We have professional GPT. You work for a pretty huge company with a lot of customers and a lot of branches around the world. We have OpenAI Azure, we have professional enterprise ChatGPT with OpenAI, and we have Copilot, all of them powered by OpenAI. Okay, so that's for you to understand where we are and how we got here. Now, GPT, the actual GPT and the most powerful chat human-like tool that we have today in the market. And I'm not saying that just because it's a Microsoft class. I've been trying them, most of them, I've been trying most of those we have, and I can say that on a human level interaction, this is the best one we have today. I'll talk about some comparisons at the end so you know where it stands against Gemini, Gronk, Real AI and stuff, but it's just for you to know. There is a sequence on the architecting design of GPT, okay? How it works. The first thing is that you capture some text, right? You go there, you go through the chat, you say, hey, how are you? And it will be captured. That's the initial input. Then we have the position encoding. Since the architecting that we will use will actually catch the sequence, position encoding will be added here in the middle to give the model information about each of the words in the sequence. Think about this as saying, hi, it's 1, how, it's 2, are, it's 3, and you is 4. So when we push that sentence and sequence into the actual processing model, we will know the actual order. You may think that's obvious, right? Yeah, but we think as humans, not as a computer where everything has to be logical, okay? Then we have something called the multi-headed self-attention mechanism. I know, pretty fancy names in here. This is a core component of the transformer model. This is the soul of the transformer model. This one will allow the model to weight the importance of every reward in the sequence, and then it will move it around to see, by changing positions based on the encoding, if it makes more sense to it. The mechanism will run multiple processes in parallel to try to make the most sense of the hi, how are you it got. That's why this process, it's not unique from OpenAI, but it's quite advanced compared to others. And that's why the human experience of OpenAI is such a big thing. Then it will normalize it like, hey, I have completed the whole process. I think that hi, how are you? It's the proper order. I think I have a full context to understand what is being asked through the prompt. Let's feed it forward to the neural network. Based on the neural network, we will know, okay, it looks like he's saying hi, he's asking me how I am. So how am I? Sorry. So I can actually go and look for a proper response. I'm doing good. How about you? That's the output text sequence. Again, this is a brief of how it actually works. If you want to see more about this process, we will discuss that at the end of today's session, but it's for you to know, at least to understand how the sequence follows. Now, why these are so important, the attention and the transformers? Because, as I was mentioning, it will selectively put the parts of the whole prompt, okay, to produce a coherent aware output. You might think that's given by default, right? But the self-attention will measure up every word, as I was mentioning, every single word in a sequence. My hi, how are you example, it's pretty straightforward, right? We have a few words here and there. But for example, I've been building a full class of AI for public functionaries and government. I've been building that for the last 3-4 weeks. And I've been feeding like thousands and thousands of pages of information to give me summaries and give me stuff. All those words are weighted. My hi, how are you are 4 words. The books that I'm feeding into AI to give me some context are thousands, if not millions of words together. The same process of the hi, how are you is done there. So the idea is to capture long distance context. This is the most amazing part. What is this, folks? Long distance context means that you go from the hi to the you on the hi, how are you, to understand the actual context of each of the words. Hi, from the source to you being the target, are related by 3 words in the middle, right? Think about that in a book where you say, in this module, we will talk about artificial intelligence, first sentence. And then you start talking about a lot of things. At the end, after 5, 6, 7 paragraphs, you say, so if you remember the objective of this module, we're good. AI needs to know what was the objective, and it was told on the first line, right? So it has to go back 5 paragraphs up to say, in this model, we'll talk about AI. Okay, we're talking about AI. It's capable of doing that. That's the long distancing. It can create relationships between words or between keywords, regardless of how many more words are in between of those. That's how AI works. And that's, again, why it's so powerful to replicate the human behavior. One of the good things is that all these that I'm explaining has been pre-trained. We don't have to do this. You can do it. You can create your own models. You can train your own models using machine learning, and you can spend millions of hours of processing and cycles to have a pretty amazing model for yourself. Yes, but the nice part of this is that if we don't need to, we don't have to. We have so many options given by GPT that it will take us as a regular user years, maybe 20, 30 years to achieve the same level of training. That's why it's so good to know that it's already there, right? That we don't have to worry about that. But don't worry, you might be thinking, okay, Arturo, that sounds great, but what if I want to add some changes? You can do that. You can go for fine tuning. The model that it's already there can be handcrafted with some details here and there. I'll give you an example at the end. I'll explain an example at the end. You have that specific task that you want without having to train from scratch. That's the amazing part of it. So the natural language understanding, or NLP, well, natural language processing, or NLP, it's now today something that we're getting used to, right? You may remember the first days of Cortana or Siri or Bixby, those assistants that we used to have or we still have in some devices that were capable of understanding what I was saying, right? That was the first real application of NLP. A computer was capable of understanding human language and making sense of it. That has been in the market for a long time, maybe 10, 15 years. But today, folks, today, we are capable of interacting back and analyzing the whole context of it. Take a look on the last one here on the slide, sentiment analysis. We are capable of determining something like, hey, it looks like my customers in X, formerly known as Twitter, or in Facebook, are actually quite mad about a change of my product. Let's see what we can do. Using the language moderation tool of GPT, you can actually determine that. Like, hey, it looks like Arturo is happy today, based on the words and the things he's saying, or based on the tone of his voice, looking at his face. So that's what we're getting today. Some real examples here before we get into the actual demo. In different fields, folks, customer service, chatbots. Today, you can book a flight and a complete vacation trip just using GPT. So that's a good thing. Even for free, I'm going to show you that in a minute. You can have education, for example. I'm building, as I said, I'm building different outlines for the government. One of them is AI for education. And I can tell you how many things you can do with GPT. GPT is capable today, for example, of creating customized learning paths for each of you based on your feedback and the way you consume the knowledge. If they see that Arturo prefers to go through videos and Eden prefers to go through reading materials, the next model you'll have might have more videos for Arturo, more technical papers for Eden. It's capable of doing that immediately. On the healthcare, we can actually have diagnostics. We can have medical research based on GPT by putting in some variables. I've seen, this is still on a private lab demo of Microsoft, but I've seen putting in some symptoms and a lot of context of the user or the patient in this case, like all the variables of his way of living and stuff. And it's capable of giving close to 70% accurate diagnosis. You may say 70% is not enough for a human. It is not, but it's still on a beta development process. Think about that when it's ready. I'm not saying we're going to get rid of medical personnel, no, but we will help them to have a faster diagnosis, maybe a more accurate diagnosis, right? Something we might have skipped as a human, the computer may be capable of processing 100 times faster when we put it in. On legal, also, analytics, outcomes of trials, possible variations of proof and implications of a case, things like that. Content creation, well, this is one of the most common uses we have seen or we may be aware of, creating material, right? Images, redacting stuff. Again, we're not going to talk about here right now in this slide about the implications of that, but we can do that. As we said, we have codecs. We can create our own code. I personally, and this is a personal confession that I've never made public, but I don't develop. I'm really bad at development. I cannot put 2 and 2 together in one single line of code. It takes me a while to do so. Well, with codecs, I've been trying myself in getting to learn some Python and Julia to create my own machine learning models. And I've been able to, by seeing how codecs works, generating some new code, I've been able and capable of doing it on my own and then just maybe fine tuning with AI. So it works. From first-hand experience, I can say that one works, okay? In gaming, for example, a lot of games on the next generation will come with NPCs fully dynamically powered by dialogue, right? The idea is that whatever you interact with them using a microphone, that's the idea, they will be able to answer back by using that dialogue generation. So think about that experience. Think about playing a game where a guy sitting there in a bench will be able to have a full conversation with you, having nothing to do with the main history of your game. Creative writing, obviously, power up of content creation, forecasting of the market, analysis. All these things, folks, that we have here are real applications that we have today. These are not things that will come next year or 5 years from today. No, these are things that are here now that we can see in everyday experience. We're almost done here with the theory. And again, I know that you love the couple of demos I have, but from ideas to reality. Project integration with OpenAI. This is the final one we have. Some best practices, folks. Define clear objectives. When you want to get something from OpenAI, you need to be pretty specific. Last week, we had a webinar taking place about best practices for prompting. So being clear will make it easier for AI to understand what you want. And also be clear about the objective of the model you're using. What's the purpose of having a chat? Do I want to have a customer service front end? Do I want to automate the booking of my hotel? Or I want to automate the booking of my meeting room, for example, inside of the organization, right? Set goals. Always have goals. Specific, measurable objectives and goals. Understand the limitations and capabilities, folks. This is a little bit more complicated than it sounds because you need to learn about LLM and you need to learn about the capacity of OpenAI, right? But understanding things that can be done or cannot be done might help you to actually have a full view of what you can achieve as an objective. Think about privacy and security. Be sure that your use of OpenAI, folks, complies with data protection and regulations, GDPR, HAPAA, DOD, etc. I mean, that's obviously given or considered on any project we may have related to technologies, but it's important you know it, right? Fine tuning. Do not, and this is one of the most important parts of OpenAI from my experience, do not sit and like just say, okay, this is all I can do. I'll learn how to live with it. Or can I do this? No, you have to do something different. Fine tuning. Okay, do it, folks. The fine tuning will give you more capability that from a first hand you may not get. Again, I'm going to refer to fine tuning once again before we're done today. And obviously, always keep an eye on it, right? See what's happening, see how it's behaving, see what it's doing, because the model can actually crash. The model can actually learn something wrong that you don't want to be part of it, or it can get used to giving you some responses that you may not actually be willing to have. So remember, this is like teaching a child, right? So that's the idea of using the OpenAI. I have a baby. Well, it's not a baby anymore. She's a year and 4 months old. And every time I play with her, and every time I play with OpenAI, I think like, I know that might sound rude, but I think about both of them like teaching them something. It's the same experience. If my baby sees me running or jumping, she will try to imitate me. If OpenAI sees me copying a specific paragraph of the result, it will try to give me that paragraph again. It's the same principle. It's like teaching a baby. So be careful. Be careful because whatever you teach wrong might come back to bite you in the future, right? So that's a best practice we have here. Ethical considerations, folks, here. Sorry. I don't know why I click up and it goes back. There. Ethical considerations, folks. We could have an 8 hours discussion of this. As I said, I've been working for the government these days, and they actually have a huge requirement of ethical discussions on their trainings. They want to have like 10, 20 hours of ethical discussions. This is a pretty important topic today. We're not going to get those 20 hours here. We're going to take a couple of minutes and we will jump into the demo. But first of all, bias and fairness. We as humans are always used to bias, right? If someone asks you something, like based on your bias, your own belief system, you may say yes or no. I can say right now, Bigfoot exists. Some of you may be laughing. Some of you may be nodding. Some of you may be thinking, really, Arturo is saying that? That's based on your human context. By default, OpenAI has no bias. It's completely fair. That means that if I say Bigfoot exists, we will see what answers on the demo. Let's see what it says. Important. When you start training, when you start teaching, when you start interacting, the model can, without you noticing, learn and perpetuate those biases based on you. If I go and say to the model I've been using the last week, because I've been testing a new model the last week, and say, hey, Bigfoot exists. And it answers me, well, there is no evidence, but it's possible. No, it exists. Have you seen this and that? Have you read this and that? Well, yeah, but it's not approved. No, no, no. Take a look at this evidence, and I put in 100 words about why it exists. The next time someone goes to my model, it might say, yeah, it exists because of this. So it learned from me that it exists. So be careful, because at the end of the day, is learning. Again, the same paradigm of teaching a child, right? So be careful with bias. That's the first thing we have to consider, especially if it's going to be used in a broad environment. If it's for you, well, it might be like your child, right? But if it's going to be published or something, be careful. Second thing, misuse in disinformation. There is a high risk of Gen AI models to be used to create misleading information, deep fakes, propaganda, right? It's pretty common to see today pictures, videos, voice alteration stuff based on AI. Last night, I was having a gaming session with my friends, and one of them told us a story of a school, of the students recording the voice of the teacher. I don't know if you saw that, and then using an AI to recreate that voice saying some racist stuff. The poor guy got arrested. Obviously, it got solved after that. So that's a misuse. And the power of AI, it's so big that it's a reality. There is no way to stop that. So we, as the users, as the owners, as those proposing the solution, should be aware of that. Okay, transparency. All the information you have in OpenAI, it's transparent to you. If you use a professional environment of OpenAI, not a free one, all the information is yours. OpenAI nor Microsoft will use that information to teach, to learn from it, to use for learning models. If they ask you or you actually accept that, it's a different story. But by default, that won't happen. Okay? The privacy, the models remember that might actually memorize something that you are not wanting to be memorized, right? Like a contact number, like an address, like a name. So be careful. And the most discussed one on the creative scenario, it's the intellectual property. AI uses web-based grounding searches, especially the Model 4, to create content. So be aware of that, because some of the content you might be generating, especially images, might be copyright. Okay, that's an important thing. So we're not gonna get here into what is good and what is bad. It's not a moral discussion, but it's important you consider all these ethical variables. Any questions you have? This is our theory, folks. We're gonna jump now into the platform, but any questions you have, please let me know. So let's go here to our browser. There are a lot of usages of OpenAI today. Let me show you the first one. We already saw this on the first webinar we had, but I want you to have a small overview. Let me zoom in. This is Copilot from Microsoft, okay? There is a full class of Copilot. There are a lot of training classes of this. Is a different project and a different object. This is the free edition you have, but this, my friends, is powered by OpenAI, okay? So if we chat with Copilot, we're using a GPT model. The free edition is a 3.5, not 3.5, and we can interact with it like, hi, how are you? Here. Remember, this is public. Whatever I fit into this one will be used on the back end of OpenAI to learn. You see? Hello, I'm here and ready to assist you. Okay, we're good. Great. This is the free one we have. Now, if I go to OpenAI here, let me show you. We have the OpenAI version that is not the Microsoft version. Remember, they are major investors, but they are not the owners, right? We have here different products. This is what I was mentioning earlier today. So you can see here that I have the standard one for myself. I have one for teams, like a small organization, or I have one, for example, here for the whole enterprise, right? The idea of using these different models, again, it's based on the type of product we want to develop or to use with OpenAI and the experience we're expecting to have. If I go here to ChatGPT, for example, here, we can reach, sorry, no, I went back. Let me go here. If I ask something like, hi, how are you? It's gonna take me to ChatGPT free edition. You see? So you can see here a couple of things that we can use. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you? What's on your mind today? You see, it's different. The model here, it's for public usage. The model here is based on an assistant based on Microsoft 365. So even though both are based on OpenAI, we start seeing something different. You can see different models in here, okay? If I go to Plus, as I was mentioning, this will give me the latest one, GPT-4, the most powerful version we have today, and will let me use GPT from a customization and user experience. So this one, it's really useful, folks, the Plus one, if you want to get the latest available version in the market. Plus, you get DALL-E, that is the image generator, and obviously you have all the power of new releases at the reach of your hand. Or you can go to the team that will let you have multiple users working in a workspace, feeding all together the information. Okay, so these are options that we have. This is a standard one, folks. All of you can access this. That's a free option you will have whenever you need it. Will be there for you. That's a good thing, right? Now, what happens when we move to the Microsoft version, the powerful version of cloud? I can go here, portal.azure.com. Let me show you. And I can create my own model. I'm going to create a small creation here so you see how it looks from scratch, and then I'll show you the one I'm using. Okay, so I can go here to OpenAI. This is the one I'm using. This is from a friend, but I can hit create and create a new OpenAI. Remember, this is powered up by Azure. Okay, so I can go here, resource group. I'm going to create it here. Let's call this OpenAI Sunset Webinar. The name you have here is unique, okay? If you have a name that it's already used somewhere else in the world, it won't let you create it, just FYI. We have, by default, given the type of subscription I have, it's a trainer subscription. I have a free edition, a standard basic edition. If you pay for the full OpenAI, you have all the models available, okay? So I'm gonna click here. This is security. We won't get into this because we will have to talk about Azure in detail, and the cut of today is OpenAI. So I can move forward. It's not going to take a while. Okay, don't worry. It's not that long of a wait. So once we create the model, what we will see, just look back. There it is, create. It's something like this. Okay, so this is my OpenAI model. This is the context where I'll be able to deploy new models or use existing models. Remember, the model being the large language that I'm using to learn, to teach, to respond, to ground. Okay, so this is an Azure service. You can see, if you have used Azure before, you can see some Azure tools in here. But see where the magic happens. If I click here on the AI Studio, this one, this studio, folks, is where we will create the actual model, we will train, where we will configure, we will customize, and we will be able to publish. Check this out. This is not yet. Well, I'll do it here. I can see the models available in the location. You see what I was mentioning? I have from GPT 3.5, similar to the free one we have in here, up to 432 Turbo. Important. Depending on the region you create your product, you'll have different options for the models. For example, the model I created, the one I'm going to show you now created, I embedded some computer vision, so it's capable of describing images. To do that, I have to create it on the West US region, the one in Redmond, or on the East US region, the one in North Carolina, because of the type of services they have, okay? It's important you remember that, because you might create something, for example, in Brazil South, and you might say, hey, why I only have GPT for 613? Oh, that's because on that region, it's limited to this. You can see Vision Preview, it's here. So if I want to create a new model, let's say 3.5, I can deploy it, or I can create a custom model. In the edition I have, this is not possible, but I can fine tune, okay? So you can see, that's because of my subscription, not because of the region. But if you want to create your own model to, let's say, you may be thinking, okay, what about the model? Why will I do that? Imagine that you're working, let's say for a stock market company, and you want to have a model completely focused on the stock market. You have hundreds of thousands of terabytes of information and historical data that you can insert. You can create your own model, feed all that information, and train it. to see and maybe forecast possible crashes or possible increases and stuff. That's a real example. That's why you will go for a specific model. You can power up the model using GPT for human recognition language and stuff, but use your information as the source. Okay, that's the idea of a model. So if I create this one, for example, you can see here, if I want to update deployment name, let's call this GPT 3.5. Sorry, yeah, dot. There, I can, these are configurations about the power and capacity. This is the number of tokens that can receive per hour. A token, just FYI, usually it's around 4 or 5 characters. So how many tokens are you expecting to handle in your model? The one I created, for example, it's capable of handling 128,000 per session. To create content, that's good enough. You might think, hey, give it all, like go all the way up. Yeah, but you'll spend all your money in a model that might not actually need it, right? So be careful. That you can change this later. So just FYI, just in case you have seen the tokens word in OpenAI. So I'm gonna create this. You can see it's created on the top right. I can go here to my deployments, and now you can see I have the one I created for myself and this one. Let's see what this one says about Bigfoot. This is my model. I can start chatting with it. So I can go here and say, hi, from our webinar, our students would like to know what you think about Bigfoot being real. This, my friends, it's I'm using my deployment. Okay, this is mine, you see? This is my deployment, not the 3.5. We will see the difference on the answer. So this is the one I've been using. I'll show you what can do, what this one can do. This is the one that I've been like teaching and testing the last couple of weeks. So important, you may be thinking, why there is no answer? The reason is that I'm using a free edition service, and obviously the priority of my inputs, it's quite behind those in production. Okay, be aware of that. I mean, it's not like it will always be like this. The moment I move this into production, I might use a different subscription, and that subscription will actually have a complete different type of response. So it's taking a lot. You see, well, you can see my tokens here down here. In the meantime, let me see if we can use the same question that I asked. Let's ask the same to the 3 options you have. Let's ask that one here. This is the standard GPT. Let's ask one here. And sign out and sign in again. You see, it's timing out because, again, I'm on the free edition. Usually at this time of the day, given that it's early morning, everyone is using AI today. So after 3 p.m., this starts working flawlessly. So let's see what it said. Bing, you can see it. The history of Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a topic that has intrigued, and you can see it's giving me like a full essay about Bigfoot, right? So, okay, very good. What did ChatGPT said? You can see it's similar to what it said, but it's more consistent, right? Remember, this one is using OpenAI as an assistant. So it's giving me something that from a, let's say, work context will be useful. It might be thinking that I have to write down an essay or something. Remember, this has an assistant bias. It's configured like that. It's by Microsoft 365 with the purpose of being an assistant. This one is, let's say, agnostic. You see? So ultimately, whether Bigfoot is real or not, open question. Okay. Mine is actually there. You can see it's using the same model. So we can compare both answers. Let's try to do that. Let me just move this one here because I don't see you. There we are. So here, let's see what each of them said. I think it's this one. Yes. So here, you can see it's similar to what I did here. This is more about, I don't have personal opinions. You can see the difference. This one is like an empty vessel yet. If I start fitting this one and say, okay, take a look at this evidence, the next time you should say yes, and I have all my structure and infrastructure on the backend to save that, this will start biasing over, yes, Bigfoot exists. Okay, so again, be careful. That's what I was saying before we started the demo. Be careful on what you use and what you show, because if it's your model, it will learn from it. But that's not all. Check this out. Now, let's see if it does it. Describe the same answer, but like if you were, clean is good, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. My model that we have on screen has no database yet. Okay, so I'm not saving this information yet. But if I enable the database, it will know at some point that I like that movie, and it must start using it. So I'm just giving you these examples because when we interact with OpenAI, the capabilities are such a large list of things that we need to be aware of those products. While we wait to our AI to bring Clean is Good to the table, show you the final part of it. If you're happy with this, if you say, hey, I think this is a useful bot, with a couple of clicks, folks, for free, you can deploy this and expose it. I can go here. Let me show you here. App Services. I can click on my URL. Well, it's actually loading there. This is also a free edition, so it's also a little bit slow. And once you connect, you can see now it's actually Clean is Good. Well, kid, in these wilderness we call home. I love when it does something like that. So yeah, that's my model, folks. So my model is now public. It's actually here. I have access using my credentials. I can publish this for everyone to use it. I published this a couple of days ago, so I'm still using default configurations, but this is the same guy that it's here. Okay, so this, my friends, is OpenAI. This is what we have today. It's an introduction to what we can do. Remember, Assistant Edition for work, free edition for everyone, sorry, GPT 3.5, and the Azure edition that we have. Any of the three, folks, compared to the other AIs, has the best understanding of a human language. I'm not comparing all the other tools. This is not a comparison class, but at least from a human understanding perspective, it's capable of doing so. It's the most powerful or the more advanced in the market today to understand the human-like experience. Okay? And the final thing I mentioned, I said fine-tuning a couple of times, and I said I was going to come back to this message. I don't know if you will like this or no, but I have a model on my personal account. This is the work account I have. You can see it's a domain. On my Hotmail account, I have a model using GPT-4 that I trained to create slide decks. And everything we saw today was created by OpenAI. This specific presentation we covered, you may have seen it a little bit clumsy. I wanted to have this version used because it was a nice surprise at the end. You may have seen a couple of weird fonts and stuff, maybe some misalignments. I wanted to leave it the way it was out from OpenAI. My fine tuning was, I'm going to feed you different slides with different structures, and I want you to create a presentation based on the content I have written before for OpenAI. So I feed all my content, all my sources, and the presentation we covered last 45 minutes, 50 minutes, was completely created from scratch by using OpenAI, except for my introduction slide and the name was ours. So my friends, that's our discussion of the day. I hope you have enjoyed our webinar. We have a couple of announcements here from Eden, but again, thank you for joining. We have a couple of surprises coming up in the next months to keep learning about OpenAI, Copilot, and things. So keep an eye on Sunset, folks. We will have a lot of new things coming up in the future. Thank you, folks. I'll stay here while Eden goes through the next slides. But thank you again, and hope you like our session. So, Eden.
Thanks, Arturo, and thank you guys for being here. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat or Q&A, and we'll get to those in 1 second. But we do have some exciting promotions for you. This workshop goes much more in depth of what Arturo was just talking about today. We have the promotion of $1,500 for up to 50 people from your organization to attend. And normally it's about $500 per person. So this promotion is insane. So contact us if you're interested in learning more about it. You can email us at info@sunsetlearning.com to inquire, and I'll throw the link in the chat to learn more about what you will learn in this webinar, or sorry, workshop, but demos are included in it. So let us know if you want more information about that workshop. And then next slide, please. So this webinar was an introduction to OpenAI, but if you're interested in learning a little bit more and more in depth, we do have some training for you. The middle one, that Microsoft Azure AI Fundamentals, we're actually running that class for free next week. So if you are interested in joining that, we can throw that in the chat as well. And then Arturo, do you want to go over the other two of what they'll learn in those ones?
Yeah. First of all, take that opportunity, folks. The AI fundamentals will show you the image generation and stuff that will get you into Azure. The things that I did to build that slide deck and stuff can be learned from there. And then if you want to learn more, the DevGen, the AI 50, it's a one-day class about OpenAI. The things that I shown, but fully focus on you learning how to use it, from creating your own model, exposing the application, creating your language, servicing the information. So that's all about OpenAI from a technical perspective, okay? 8 hours of full training to learn with exercises. It has exercises on it and a lot of things you can practice with. And then the AI 102, it's the advanced class of AI for Azure, where you can actually learn how to use computer vision, language understanding, neural networks. It's 4 days of 8 hours each with exercises, practices, labs, modules, theory, everything is there. So that's the most complex one. Important. The AI 102, it's about Azure AI. The AI 50 is about OpenAI. If you take both, you can merge them to have a full solution there deployed in Azure. So those are the two classes we see here.
Thank you. And I don't see any questions in the chat, so we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope to see you in one of our other webinars and maybe even in the Azure AI Fundamentals next week. If you need anything from us, we will be sending an email with the recording and as well as this other information next week. So keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, we hope you have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you.
See you, everyone. Thank you.
If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.